Okay, now most people won't even talk about this because I don't know if they don't understand it or what the deal is. But genetics and mindset, how important is a connection? And I believe it's super important, and I have proof myself with my experience. But the relationship, most won't even address it. In reality, if you want to understand mindset and how to make drastic positive changes, you have to look at all the factors that are interrelated. And genetics, which equal or impact your physiology, psychology, is super, super important. And then, of course, socialization, upbringing, which we'll talk about in the next session, and mindset training. Those are all important, and those are all the factors you have to take into account. However, the physiology or the genetics has definitely an influence on mindset in terms of energy levels, depression, the introvert versus extrovert gene, confidence and self-esteem, aggressiveness, persistence. These are all things that if you take a look at your genetics and how that plays out with your physiology and your psychological profile, there is an impact from your genetics and also how your physiology works. So what does that mean? Well, let me give you some examples. Energy levels can be drastically impacted by at least two factors, blood levels. One is testosterone, the other is thyroid. If those are super low, you not only will have trouble with energy levels and possibly depression, but you may have confidence and self-esteem problems. You won't be aggressive, you'll be real passive, and you will probably won't be as persistent. And you may tend to be more of an introvert than an extrovert, when in reality, if you had normal balance in your blood levels, you might be a different person. I'll tell you my story later, but it's super, super important. And even the vitamins and minerals. Low levels of B vitamin can affect your energy levels. But definitely the next step when I work with people is an MD visit to be evaluated. And we need to take a look at your hormone levels, your vitamin mineral levels, because those can influence your mindset. So we schedule a workup, and we're looking for things like low testosterone. Dopamine levels have to do with introverted, extroverted, or at least, that's sort of preliminary. Thyroid levels, vitamin and mineral levels. If you're super low on certain things, those can definitely impact not just your mindset, but also physical characteristics as well. So once you get that worked up, let's say you're really low, and let me give you an example. When I was growing up, I was always one of the biggest kids, and so when I played sports, everybody expected to be the top athlete, and I was a better than average athlete, but I was never the best athlete on my teams. And there was always somebody that genetically was much faster than I was, stronger than I was, whatever. And that had to do, I didn't know at the time, but it had to do with my genetics. And so when I got older, I had trained with weights, strength training, since I was in 5th grade. And most of my classmates that were on my team, they didn't train at all. And yet many of them were faster than me or stronger than me. So I didn't understand it, but I actually, because of that, I went on for my master's in health and sports performance. And it was then that I realized the relationship between testosterone and thyroid and all these things, that if you're really low, it's going to have a drastic impact on you. Both your mood levels, your energy levels, things like that. So when I did my first big deal, which was to raise a bunch of money to open up a human performance institute in Cincinnati, Ohio, I asked my consulting physician to draw my blood levels. And he did testosterone, he did all sorts of stuff. So he comes back, he says, "Are you on steroids?" And I said, "No." He said, "Well, that's weird because you have a profile that shows that you're on steroids." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And he goes, "Well, you're off the chart low. And that usually means you're administering exogenous or external steroids." And I said, "Nope, never tried them, never, I was against them at the time." And he said, "That's really weird because you're off the chart low." And not only that, I was off the chart low on thyroid. So finally, at age 30, I uncovered part of the puzzle for me, and mindset and also, energy levels, things like that, self-esteem. But I didn't do anything about it till I was almost 40. And then I actually did do my first cycle of steroids, testosterone, and it was the difference between night and day. And when I say difference between night and day, most of my success came once I started on my testosterone replacement. I was a different person. I had more confidence. I was more persistent. I had more energy. It was just unbelievable. When I worked out, I actually got gains. Whereas before I was always a little bit, my body fat was always a little bit high, things like that. So I know for a fact that if you are low, it can drastically impact your ability to have a strong, powerful mindset. Is it true for everybody? No. If you have high levels of testosterone and thyroid and you're super energetic, well, probably you aren't low on those and it probably won't impact you much. Then we go on to the socialization and impact of upbringing and who surrounded you during your childhood, how you were taught and things like that. But the follow-up treatment plan, if you are low on anything, obviously you go on whatever's needed, vitamin supplements, mineral supplements, or even testosterone, things like that. So that's where we start, but that's only the first step. And so we'll talk about the next step, which is the socialization, family influence, because that also plays a huge role. Even if you do have high levels of testosterone and thyroid and things like that, your family upbringing can have a drastic impact on your mindset. So we'll talk about that next.